I limped out of his room with my head hung low. For the rest of the day, I tried my best to sober up. I knew I needed to put the disastrous Brandy episode behind me and get my life back in order again, because my job was probably the only thing I'd got going for me in my life at that time. Indeed, getting fired would be as good as putting the final nail in my coffin. And I knew I had to recover, and recover quickly. So the next day, I dragged myself out of bed at 6, took a warm bath, dressed up, gave myself a short pep talk in the mirror, and drove to work. I arrived at 7, and since it was so early, I was surprised to see that Duncan was already at the office. There were lights in his room, but since the blinds were down, I couldn't see him. However, I was sure he was there, because I could hear him laughing and talking to someone. Desperate to get back into Duncan's good books, I made my way to his room, wanting to plead for a second chance. I couldn't remember what I was thinking when I forgot to knock before opening the door. Then, right there, at that moment, I saw it. Duncan was sitting behind his desk with his hair slightly messed up and his top buttons of his shirt undone. A young woman was sitting on his lap and kissing him passionately, while his hands were hungrily fondling her hair and neck. I was completely stunned, and I stood there, unable to move for some time, which felt like an eternity. It took them a couple of seconds before they realized that I was at the door, and when the woman turned around, I finally saw who she was. It was Brandy. As her eyes landed on me, the expression on her face turned from surprise to shock, horror, and fury. And she started yelling at me to get out, that I should have respected their privacy, and that I had no right to barge into anyone's room like that. Hearing this, my confusion turned into seething anger as my body started shaking with uncontrollable rage. Feeling deeply disgusted, I ran out.